happy Wisdom Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in and for choosing to spend some of your time with me. I'm Maria Milagros, and this is a little space I like to carve out to share different tips, tools, techniques, stories, anecdotes, different things that we can use when we actually implement them with intention and consistency in our lives to help create practices that are going to create a strong foundation on which we can build a life that is healthier and happier, whatever that means for this moment in time, with who we are right now and where we are right now in our lives. During the month of March, we're talking about relationships, and today I want to talk about forgiveness and the idea of second, third, fourth, fifth, eighth chances. So when I think about forgiveness, because of the many years of practice that I had during my time of Christianity, I think about the scripture that people always bring up about how Jesus turned the other cheek. And I think that there is a lot of truth in that, but a lot of times people take it out of context. And when you read it in the context, it is about not necessarily giving someone your other cheek to abuse you, but literally turning away from them, right? So if you get hit on one side, you turn away. And Jesus himself, when he realized that people in his own town weren't able to receive the message and weren't able to show up in spaces of love, he looked at them, was like, see you when I see ya. He left. He left that area because they could not and were not willing to align with love, right? And he left. That, I feel, is a way more important message and reminder for us. Now, let's take that information and sit it there for a second, and then we're going to back up. The word sorry itself is known as an adjective, right? It's like a way that you feel. It's a descriptive word. I have remorse. I have sorrow. I have regret. Sorry, that's nice. You feel that thing. I like to think of sorry as a verb. What is your action going to say to prove that you are, in fact, remorseful? How is your action going to change? How is your pattern going to change or be altered or shifted to prove that you don't want to live in a space of regret? So instead, you're going to course correct, whatever that might mean for the time, in order to align with healthier and happier within yourself and within the dynamics of your relationships, right? Last week, we talked about potential versus patterns and how everybody has the potential to be either a monster or a saint. It is the patterns that we feed and that we continue to repeat that will determine whether our trajectory goes up or goes down, or for some people stays very monotone, whatever, mundane, mediocre on that level, right? So it is the patterns that are the evidence. And it's not any different when someone apologizes, including ourselves. If we apologize, my recommendation is that in relationships, when you are going to apologize for something, first of all, make sure it's something you're actually sorry for, right? We have a tendency, especially as women and especially as people of color, we have been taught to apologize for things that aren't even ours. Like, oh, I hurt your feelings because I spoke my truth. I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings. Actually, I'm not sorry that I spoke my truth. If you interpreted it through your filters and your biases and your proclivity to believe that I'm supposed to cater to you, that has nothing to do with me. I'm not apologizing for that, right? So it's really important that first off, we recognize what are we apologizing for, and do we need to be apologizing for that? That's first. Second, if we do recognize like, nah, I messed up, I missed the mark, I did go in on her with the intent of hurting her feelings, right? If we recognize that we did that and then we feel remorse, then yes, we should apologize. We should apologize to verbally declare to the other person, I recognize where I missed it. And now, number 3, I am going to start paying more attention to what I am thinking, saying, and doing, and how that impacts you in a way that causes you intentional hurt, right? Because hurt people. I can say for myself that when I was younger especially, and I was just walking around like a vessel of anger and hurt, I was doing that to other people. And whether it was conscious or unconscious, I was doing that to other people. I was causing them hurt. And when I did hurt someone else, I felt slightly relieved that I wasn't the only one hurting. That is messed up. It's so messed up. And it wasn't until years of therapy and this self-love, self-care, understanding myself journey that there were some situations that I did have to go back to and apologize. And then course correct so that I don't continue to wreak havoc where I'm going, right? So it is important to apologize, recognize if we have something to actually apologize for, if that's ours, apologize, say it, make a declaration, a verbal declaration, and not just I'm sorry, but I'm sorry and I'm going to do better, whatever better means, right? I'm going to create that. I'm going to create a shift in my pattern. I'm going to work on this. And then actually do the work, right? So those three things when it comes to sorry. Now, the other coin of sorry is forgiveness. When someone does something that is hurtful, and it's not me being a big baby like, oh, you hurt my feelings. My feelings are mine to own. Let's just be real. But if someone is intentionally taking stabs at me, I can say that. Right? Like, I see what you're doing. I know what's going on here. And then if they apologize, then I get to choose whether or not I'm going to forgive. Now, the reason why forgiveness is really important in a relationship is because when we forgive, what we're actually doing is freeing ourselves of carrying the weight of this thing as if it is going to continuously, day in and day out, weigh us down. Right? When we don't forgive, whether the person asks for forgiveness or not, when we don't forgive and choose to make that mental shift to say, I am no longer going to carry the weight of this and allow it to crush me, then we're going to operate with, make decisions, allow thoughts to fester, and say things from under that weight. It becomes a filter and a bias by which we perceive our lives. So forgiveness is actually allowing us to relieve ourselves of some unhealthy filters so that we can, again, change the foundation of which we are building and creating a happier and healthier life. The other person doesn't necessarily have to ask for forgiveness, but when we are done processing the hurt and the anger, which is an important step, you don't just jump to forgiveness. You have to process all of your feelings. And when we are done processing all of that and we get to the point that we're ready to forgive, we don't even have to tell them we forgive them. It's this internal act that allows us to find new levels of freedom within ourselves so that we can live in that freedom, right? If someone asks for our forgiveness, if someone apologizes and says, I am sincerely sorry and I ask for your forgiveness, we can say, I forgive you. And like the story I told at the beginning, I choose, because of your pattern, and because of our pattern in this dynamic, I choose to not remain here. I'm out. I forgive you. I'm not carrying the weight of that, and I trust that you're going to make the changes you need to make. I am not going to sit around again for the 97th time and wait for you, please, to create the shifts in order for us to have a healthier dynamic. If this relationship is important to you, if this relationship is important to me, I have to be willing to participate in the healthy dynamics that are going to create a healthy relationship, right? So if someone asks for forgiveness, you have every right to forgive them or not if you're not done processing all of your feels. And then when you do, you can choose to not continue to participate in that relationship. That is really important. Forgiveness is not reconciliation. Right? Sometimes I forgive you because I'm not carrying the weight of that. And we have to do the work to reconcile if that's something I choose to do, because I get to determine whether or not I get to invest more of my most precious resources, my time and energy into this dynamic, and whether or not this dynamic has, through the pattern, shown me that it is creating shifts to move us to a healthier dynamic. Listen. That's a lot. And I'm trying to cram it into 10 minutes for y'all. So in relationships, when we use the word sorry, let us not just say sorry just to say it, right? Let us really back it up with action. And let's say it only when we really mean it, because we really need to take ownership or accountability for whatever we've done. And then when we choose to forgive, it is an internal process first, whether you share that with whoever or whenever. It's an internal process first to relieve ourselves, and then we have to decide based on the pattern and the potential of the relationship, but the pattern, am I going to stay here, right? Jesus carried no remorse in his heart, no regret, no sorrow, and no anger when he left his own hometown and turned to his disciples and said, let us brush the dirt of the town off of our shoes. Like, I'm not bringing anything with me. So if a lot of people use that example, so if you're going to use that example of Jesus, use the whole thing. Use the whole thing. I'm not just going to turn the other cheek and stand there and let myself get abused. Jesus never let himself get abused. Let's not tell that story or pretend like that's real or healthy in any way, shape, or form. Let's honor the whole thing and recognize we get to determine when we distribute our sorries, and we should only distribute them when we mean it and when we're going to follow it up with action. And we get to determine when we are ready to process forgiveness and then do that for our own internal freedom and then make a decision about how we're going to move forward with that relationship. Okay. End of the month. We talked a lot about different components of the relationship. I hope that this stuff was helpful. If you know someone who can benefit from it, please go ahead and share it, because sharing is caring, especially in community relationships. And if you need someone to speak at an event, I'm a keynote and motivational speaker. I also do workshops and trainings, and I have a list on my website of different talks that I've given and different topics that I talk under, www.mariamilagros.net. If you want some one-on-one or small group coaching to help you work through some of your own relationship stuff, or to help learn some of the techniques and tools in order to continue to grow in a healthy and happy place here first, so that we attract and cultivate healthy relationships in every arena of our lives, you can also reach out, because I do one-on-one coaching and I do small group coaching as well. So check out the website and you can find the information there as well. I'm sending you love and light, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'll see you next week. Peace.